Europeans love chocolate, but can they eat it with a clear conscience?
Pas assister puissant à ce que cette forêt disparaisse.
Our planet has already lost almost half of its forests, mainly because of our consumption patterns.
The issue that we are solving here is not an EU issue, it's the global issue.
The European Union has taken action. From 2025, the sale of any product derived from deforestation will be banned as part of the EUDR, the European Union's regulation on deforestation-free products. Ahead of its implementation, we visited the world's leading cocoa producer, the Ivory Coast. This fast-growing country is one of the EU's main partners in guaranteeing the traceability of cocoa, which accounts for more than a tenth of its GDP. 90% of the forests here have disappeared over the last 50 years. What's left is under threat and might be cleared to make way for cacao plantations, the raw material. To fight back, the Mabiyaya forest was recently declared a natural reserve. These paramilitaries have been deployed to protect it. After a few minutes' walk, they came across some burnt trees. And an illegal plantation.
Voilà les plants du cacao. Ils mettent le feu au pied de ces grands arbres. Mais une fois ces arbres meurent, tout de suite le cacao a accès à la lumière et il produit. Et avec la culture extensive, avec le cacao, certaines forêts ont disparu.
Human interference has also had a detrimental impact on the wildlife here, but these officers remain hopeful. Chimpanzees have also been filmed here.
Une fois qu'on va reconquérir la zone, on va les voir dans les allées même, dans les pistes intérieures à la réserve, ils vont se balader.
One of the EU's objectives is to ensure that the cacao planted here in these protected areas never reaches Europe. But how can it be sure? Companies can rely on cooperatives such as Kayat, a pioneer in traceability. A promoter of sustainable agriculture, this organisation sells its cocoa at a higher price and invests in the environmental practices of its 3,300 members. Their information can be found on these seals as soon as the bags are weighed.
Vous scannez ça, vous allez voir que le sac va vous dire dans quelle localité il provient, de quel producteur il provient. C'est traçable, on connaît l'origine. On sait que ce n'est pas cacao issu de déforestation ni de zones protégées. Donc le cacao il est en sécurité. Et ça peut nous donner aussi plus de clients.
The cooperative also supports the welfare of its producers and teaches growers how they can better their farming practices.
Quand la plante commence à vieillir, on le fait remplacer par une nouvelle plante pour ne pas avancer dans la forêt. Donc c'est là notre plan pour maintenir les producteurs à ne pas faire la déforestation.
This cocoa producer benefits from the scheme. He receives an environmental premium and has better yields.
Si c'est trop gagné avant, c'est 500 kilos, 600 kilos. Mais maintenant, là, j'ai parlé jusqu'à une tonne 200.
Auparavant, les producteurs pensaient que c'est en faisant l'agriculture extensive qu'ils gagnaient. Mais en réalité, ils n'arrivaient même pas à entretenir ce qui était par derrière. Donc pour lutter contre la déforestation, il faut amener les gens à produire beaucoup sur une petite superficie.
The Ivory Coast plans to introduce a national traceability system. This huge project was undertaken long before the European regulation was announced, here in Abidjan, at the headquarters of the powerful Café Cacao Council. The aim is to estimate the cocoa producing capacity of land plots and digitalise the payments. The council is in the process of distributing an electronic card to each of the country's 1 million producers.
Celui qui n'a pas de carte ne pourra plus vendre son cacao. Et vous verrez de façon très claire que c'est tel planteur qui a produit à tel endroit. Si on fait le cacao traçable, il faut que le marché accepte. Nous, en donnant les cartes aux planteurs, aujourd'hui, nous avons la possibilité de payer une prime directement à chaque planteur de Côte d'Ivoire. Ce cacao doit être primé et payé comme tel.
The Ivory Coast produced a land use map for the 31st of December 2020, the reference date for the European Deforestation Regulation. The map should enable exporters to prove that their product does not come from a deforested area. This initiative was supported by the European Union, which imports 50% of the Ivory Coast's yields.
La Côte d'Ivoire est tout à fait consciente des défis, mais elle s'apprête avec plusieurs instruments à y faire face pour en effet être prêt pour pouvoir continuer à exporter le cacao vers l'Union européenne qui veut du cacao ivoirien.
Back in Europe, traders are preparing for the new regulations. From 2025, companies that cannot prove they have deforestation-free supply chains risk heavy fines. They could even see their products banned from the common market.
On est aux Pays-Bas, le premier importateur mondial de cacao. On va visiter un chocolatier qui a fait de la traçabilité et de la durabilité une priorité depuis toujours. Ils ont beaucoup de succès.
Dutch confectionery company Tony's Cocoa Lonely has proven it's possible to combine mass production with fair trade standards. The company pays 50% more for its cocoa than the market price. It is a customer of the cooperative we visited in Adzopé.
Le voilà le cacao qu'on a filmé en Côte d'Ivoire.
The brand claims it is already complying with the EUDR.
We really welcome the EUDR regulation because it's raising up the expectations of the industry. Once you know who your farmers are and where they are located, you can start to work with cooperatives and work with farming families to find solutions. And you can do that over the long term. And this is a call to all people working in the industry, all companies, to pay a higher price. That will challenge the underlying issues of poverty that create deforestation and child labour in supply chains.
On the other hand, some companies have voiced their concerns in the run-up to this new law, which covers 6 other products, including wood and beef.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
We met one of the architects of the regulation, the European Commissioner for the Environment, to discuss this challenge.
I think it's important to look at it not as a challenge, but as an opportunity. EU has put a real action on the table. The implementation, which first of all requires geolocation data of the land plot, is quite simple to get these days. Secondly, that of course needs to be verifiable, but at the end of the day, that would ensure that the Europeans are not part of the issue, but actually a part of the solution.
Why should we care about forests that are far from the EU?
Right at this moment, how we are losing those forests, we are nearing the moment when from the carbon sinks, they become carbon emitters. And that would be a huge disaster, which, again, with neither policy or technology, you can reverse in a day. We need to curb deforestation rates, taking into account, of course, social dimension of the indigenous people.
Voilà, c'est ici que se termine notre épisode. Et n'oubliez pas, si le chocolat c'est très bon, la forêt c'est vital.